At her graduation, my daughter called her stepfather real dad. I smiled, walked away, and let him learn what being a father really means. My daughter Haley just graduated high school last weekend. She's 18, graduated as valedictorian, and locked in a full academic scholarship to State University. To say I was proud would be an understatement. I was grinning ear to ear on the drive to her graduation party, which was being hosted at my ex-wife Laura's place. What I didn't see coming, my daughter absolutely nuking me in front of 50 people, the same kid I'd been supporting her entire life. Laura and I split up when Haley was 7. We kept things respectful for Haley's sake, shared custody, no drama. I moved about 20 minutes away. I had her every other weekend, Wednesday night dinners, and I never once missed a child support payment, 11 years straight. When Laura married this guy Brad 4 years ago, I actually thought it might be a good thing, a 2-parent household, some stability for Haley. Now Brad sells commercial insurance, but you'd think he ran a Fortune 500 company with the way he brags online, constantly posting about his portfolio and his business mindset, drives a leased Audi, rents a home in the expensive part of town. Thing is, he's not actually broke. Brad does make decent money. He just blows through it like he's got something to prove, living paycheck to paycheck just to keep up the illusion of success. Meanwhile, I didn't just stick to child support. Since Haley was born, I'd been putting money into a 530 college savings plan. It was in my name, not hers. I'd been adding to it for 18 years, and thanks to compounding interest, it had grown to just over $91,000. Laura knew about it. Haley knew about it. I'd been calling it Haley's college fund for as long as she could remember. But legally, the account was still under my name. I hadn't transferred it yet. On top of that, I paid for Haley's car insurance, her phone bill, half of her dance classes, and a good chunk of her school expenses. When she wanted to take that expensive photography class in junior year, I paid for it without hesitation. She needed a new laptop for school. I bought it. Senior trip to New York. I picked up the tab. If Haley needed something, I found a way to provide it. No debates, no guilt trips, I just handled it. So when I showed up to her graduation party, I brought a professional-grade camera as a gift, something she'd been hinting at since she mentioned minoring in photography. The backyard was packed. Friends, classmates, teachers, neighbors, family. I was just chatting with some parents, enjoying a beer. Everything felt chill, normal. Then about an hour in, Brad gets everyone's attention. He taps his beer bottle with a knife, and the whole place quiets down. He's standing up on the deck, arms slung around Haley's shoulder like he's the proudest man alive. "Thanks for coming to celebrate Haley's amazing accomplishment," he says, beaming. As her stepdad, I couldn't be prouder of the young woman she's become. Then with a big grin, he pulls out a set of keys and holds them up. "Haley, these are the keys to your brand new Honda Civic. It's parked in the driveway. It's yours." Haley squeals and hugs him like he's just handed her the moon. She's bouncing with excitement. The crowd goes wild, clapping, cheering. I clapped too, even though I was a little irritated that Brad hadn't even given me a heads up about such a massive gift. But hey, the car was nice, and Haley deserved to feel special. Then she grabs the mic. "Thank you so much, Brad," she says, loud enough for the whole backyard to hear. Growing up, I always wondered what it would be like to have a dad who actually cared. At first I thought she was just overwhelmed with excitement, but then, something felt off. She lifts the keys into the air, still speaking into the mic. "Someone who does things like this, who shows me I matter." That's when the bad feeling hit me. She wasn't looking at the crowd, she was staring right at me. "My stepdad bought me a car," she said, her eyes still locked on mine. "My real dad never did anything like this. I guess this is what it feels like," she added, "to have someone who believes in me and wants to invest in my future." And just like that, the entire backyard went silent. 50 people just standing there, shifting uncomfortably. My cousin Tyler looked like he wanted to launch his beer across the yard. Some of the parents just stared at the grass like they wished they could disappear. But Haley wasn't done. She kept going, and that's when it hit me. This wasn't some emotional outburst. This had been rehearsed. "I want to thank Brad," she said, "for being the father figure I never had, for caring enough to make sure I have what I need. That means the world to me." She handed the mic back to Brad, who stood there soaking it all in, smug as hell. Laura, she didn't even glance at me, eyes down, lips tight, like she wanted to vanish into the floor. And right then, I knew exactly what had been happening behind the scenes. Brad had been putting in the work for a while, feeding Haley this version of the story, where he was the one who really showed up, and I was just some absent guy who barely counted. And the worst part, it worked. I stood there for a solid 10 seconds, trying to process the fact that my daughter had just told everyone I was a non-factor in her life, that I didn't matter, that her stepdad was the real parent, and I was just some guy. I could have exploded, could have pulled out the receipts literally on everything I'd done for her since she was a kid. I could have reminded everyone about the college savings account, the insurance, the phone bill, the late-night drives, the forgotten school projects I helped with, every single thing I'd done without ever asking for credit. Instead of causing a scene, I just smiled, walked over to Haley and gave her a hug. "Congrats, sweetheart," I said softly. "I'm proud of you." Then I left. No yelling, no drama, no emotional outburst. I just got in my car and headed home. But the whole way back, I kept replaying her words about Brad, investing in her future, about how he cared enough to provide for her, about how I apparently never did anything like that. When I got home, I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and started making some calls. The college fund, a 530 plan, was under my name. I had full control over it. Even though the plan was always intended for Haley's education, legally, the money was mine to manage. First, I called my insurance provider and arranged for Haley to be taken off my car policy at the end of the month. Then I called the phone company and scheduled her removal from my plan for that same date. If Brad was going to be the one stepping in as her dad, then he could start handling the day-to-day responsibilities too. That Monday, I transferred every cent from her college fund into my personal investment account. The total? $91,437. After that, I started looking into the gift car because something about Brad's whole presentation just didn't sit right with me. And sure enough, after a little digging, I found out the truth. Brad hadn't bought her a car. He had co-signed for a loan, but Haley was listed as the primary borrower. The monthly payments were $360, and Haley didn't have a job, no income, no credit history, nothing. Brad's plan was apparently to cover the payments temporarily, assuming Haley would get a part-time job soon, but the bank needed proof that she'd eventually be able to take over those payments. And here's the kicker. Brad had used my financial information as a reference on the loan application, without ever asking me. He leaned on my income and credit to help Haley qualify. So when the bank followed up with a routine call to confirm details, I told them the truth. I let them know that I wouldn't be providing financial support moving forward, that Brad would be managing all of that now. The bank wasn't thrilled. An 18-year-old with zero income, no credit, and now no family backing. That's a huge red flag. They started pressing Brad with questions about his finances, his long-term plans, his ability to make those car payments. He told them he could handle it for now, but when they asked for documentation, things unraveled fast. Brad's financial life was already stretched thin from trying to maintain appearances. His debt-to-income ratio was at the limit. 2 weeks later, the car was gone. The bank demanded either a full payoff or return of the vehicle, and Brad couldn't cover it. That same afternoon, Laura called me, completely furious. "They repossessed Haley's car," she yelled. "The bank said you told them you weren't going to help her anymore." "That's right," I said calmly. "Haley made it clear that Brad is her real father now. He's the one investing in her future, remember? So it made sense for him to take over the financial responsibilities too." "You're being ridiculous," Laura snapped. "She's just a kid. She was caught up in the moment. She didn't mean what she said." "Come on, Laura," I said. "Haley didn't blurt those words out in excitement. She meant them. She stared right at me and said I'd never done anything for her, that Brad was the dad I never managed to be. So now," I continued, "he gets the full package, credit and responsibility." There was a pause. Then in a much softer voice, she asked, "What about her college fund? What about it? She's counting on that money. Her scholarship doesn't cover everything." "Then Brad should help her with the rest," I said. "He's her father now, right?" Click. Laura hung up. After that, the phone calls started rolling in like waves. That evening, Brad called me, and he was fuming. "What did you say to the bank?" he demanded. "I told them the truth," I said, "that Haley's new dad is taking care of things now. I never said I was replacing you," he snapped. "You didn't need to," I said. "You stood there while she announced it to everyone, and you soaked up the applause like you'd earned it." "Look, I can't afford that car long term," he said. "I thought Haley would get a job and start covering it." "Then maybe you shouldn't have signed for a car she couldn't afford." "What about the college fund?" he asked. "She still needs that. That was my money, and it was meant for my daughter, but according to her, I've never done a single thing for her, so why would I give her anything now?" "This is insane," Brad said. "You're punishing her for being grateful to me." "I'm not punishing anyone," I said. "I'm just finally letting you be the dad she wants you to be. You wanted all the credit, now you get the responsibility too." Brad hung up. The next day, Haley called me. She was crying. "Dad, why did you take my college money?" she asked through sobs. "Haley, you're 18, I said gently. "You stood in front of a crowd and made it clear, Brad's your real father now. He's the one who cares. He's the one who believes in you. I've never done anything for you, right? But I didn't mean it like that," she cried. "Then what did you mean, Haley? Because you were staring right at me when you said those words. You weren't talking to Brad, or to Mum. You were talking to me. You wanted me to hear it." "I was just excited about the car," she said, her voice small. "You mean the car that got repossessed? Because Brad couldn't actually afford it." She didn't answer. The line went quiet. "Haley, do you even understand what happened?" I asked. "Brad made a flashy gesture with money he didn't have. He used my financial background to get you that car loan, then stood there letting you trash me in front of everyone. And now that it's blowing up, he can't even handle the fallout." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Haley, I've been hurt before. This isn't about my feelings. This is about choices. You made a decision. You picked Brad to be your dad, and now you get to live with that decision. But what about college?" she asked. "What about it? Brad will figure it out. After all, he's your father now, remember." She hung up. The next week was interesting. Her friends started ranting on social media, talking about how I was some heartless jerk who abandoned his daughter right when she needed him most. But then my cousin Tyler, who'd been at the party, jumped in with the truth. He posted about how Hailey's speech wasn't some spontaneous outburst. She'd planned it. She stared me down while saying it. Everyone at that party saw it. Friday night, Laura called me. Hailey's been working double shifts at the restaurant she picked up for the summer, she said. She's trying to save for college. Good for her, I said. Sounds like she's finally learning what responsibility feels like. Brad says he's going to help cover some of her costs, she added. How much is he actually helping with? I asked. He thinks he can maybe handle her textbooks and supplies. So the guy who was supposedly investing in her future can chip in maybe $2,000. He's doing the best he can, Laura replied. Laura, I saved over $90,000 for Hailey's education. Brad can maybe handle books. Do you not see the difference here? She made a mistake, Laura said. She's learning there are consequences. Saturday, Brad called. His tone had changed completely. Less arrogance, more desperation. Look, he said, maybe we can find some kind of compromise. Hailey's really struggling with this college money situation. Brad, you stood at that party and made a whole speech about being the one who believes in Hailey, who's investing in her future. You gave her that car to prove it. So go ahead, invest. I don't have $90,000 lying around, he muttered. Then maybe you should have thought twice before convincing her you were a better dad than me. I never said I was better than you, he snapped. You didn't have to, I replied. You just stood there and let her say it, soaking up all the credit. Come on, man. Don't make Hailey suffer just because this got out of hand. I'm not making her suffer. I'm just finally holding her accountable. She chose you, so now you get to be her father. He hung up. That Sunday, Hailey showed up at my front door. She looked exhausted, bags under her eyes, slumped shoulders like she hadn't slept in days. Dad, can we talk? She asked quietly. Yeah, I said. Come in. We sat down in the living room, and she immediately started crying. I know I screwed up, she said. I know what I said was wrong. I'm not mad at you, Hailey, I told her. I'm disappointed, but not angry. Then why won't you help with college? She asked. Because you made your choice, I said. You picked Brad as your father. You told everyone that I never did anything for you. You can't turn around and ask me to keep paying your way in private. But I need help, she said through tears. Then Brad needs to step up. That's the role he stepped into. He can't afford it, she said quietly. Hailey, let me ask you something. Do you have any idea how much I've spent on you over the years? She shook her head. No, I don't. Between child support, car insurance, your phone, dance classes, school trips, activities, and the college fund, I've probably spent close to $185,000. Over 18 years, Brad bought you a car he couldn't actually afford and it got taken away. Do you understand the difference now? She didn't say anything for a long while, just sat there. Finally, she spoke. I really messed up, didn't I? Yeah, you did. Is there any way to fix this? Hailey, you didn't just hurt my feelings. You humiliated me. In front of my family, my friends, our neighbors. You told a whole backyard full of people that I'd never done anything for you. She looked down. I'm sorry, she said. I know you are. But being sorry doesn't undo what happened. It doesn't erase the fact that you let Brad twist the truth until you believed I was the bad guy. So what now? She asked. Now you figure it out. Without my help. You chose Brad to be your dad, and that means he handles your expenses. That's how this works. But he's not you, she said. He can't do what you did. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you decided I wasn't good enough to be your father. Hailey left after that. She didn't argue or make a scene. She walked out without saying a word, just looking completely defeated. It's been about 3 weeks now, and a lot has changed. Hailey's working full-time at the restaurant, picking up every shift she can. She's applied for extra student loans just to cover her basic living expenses. She's also submitted applications for work-study programs on campus to help pay her way. Meanwhile, Brad has been noticeably MIA when it comes to any sort of college-related help. Turns out, his investment in her future started and ended with a flashy car he couldn't even afford. Laura still calls me every few days, mostly to pile on guilt about Hailey's situation. But yesterday, she switched tactics. Hailey's learned her lesson, she said. She knows she messed up. Isn't that enough? Laura, I replied, this was never about punishing Hailey or teaching her a lesson. It's about choices, and Hailey made hers loud and clear. She chose Brad. She called him the father she never had. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was planned. It was public. Now it's his turn to step up. But Brad can't do what you can, she said, almost pleading. Exactly, I said, and maybe she should have thought about that before she publicly threw me under the bus. The truth is, yeah, I do feel bad. I hate seeing my daughter struggle, but she's also 18 years old. She's not a kid anymore. She made an adult decision to humiliate me in front of everyone who knows me, and now she's dealing with the very adult consequences. Hailey wanted Brad to be her dad so badly. Well, now she's got him, and he can figure out how to pay for college without my help. I'm done being the fallback guy for someone who stood there and said I'd never done a thing for them. I had $91,000 saved for her money I'd been putting aside her whole life. Money I thought I'd be proud to hand over one day. Instead, now I'm seriously thinking about buying that fishing boat I've always dreamed of. Or maybe I'll just invest it, let it grow, and retire a little earlier than I planned. Whatever I end up doing, one thing's for sure. Haley made her choice at that graduation party, and now she gets to live with it.